It's really important that people understand that when you're going from taking over-the-counter medications and pharmaceuticals and you're wanting to kind of wean yourself off all these things, it's common for us to make this assumption that, okay, well, I was on this medication for my thyroid, my hypothyroidism, just like I was, just like Patrick was. And it's common for us to think, well, if I could take a medication for that and it would help balance things out, then what herb can I replace this medication with? Well, in most cases, it just doesn't work that way. And so that's the question. The thyroid one is the question I get quite a bit, simply because people know that me and Patrick off our thyroid medication. It was the only prescription medication that we were on. And we did take some over-the-counter stuff. And I do still keep certain pain relievers on hand because every now and then there can be something where you might need something more than just the feverfew or something else. But in most cases, the herbs that I grow for pain work great. But something that's a more internal, like, thyroid or high cholesterol or diabetes or high blood pressure. Well, first of all, let's cover the fact that high blood pressure, even hypo or hyperthyroidism, and a lot of these other diseases are typically not a disease. They are a symptom of something else going on in the body. And this is why you can't just assume that, just because you can take this pill, which a lot of times can make conditions worse or might help with that particular condition it's supposed to help with while causing more conditions. You can't just think that, okay, I was on this pill, so what's this herb? What herb can I take? So I get that question a lot. What herb can I take to replace my thyroid medication? Not that simple. And if you watch our video, like the one we did in 2018, where it was both me and Patrick talking, we were basically giving kind of a testimony and sharing our story. So it wasn't all just to tell people how to do it. It really wasn't even about that. It was more about sharing what we did and what got us there. And it wasn't about taking some magical herb. The one herb to cure them all. Same thing applies to blood pressure. If you're talking about things, especially, internal issues that could actually be a symptom of something else that's an underlying condition, or maybe it really is a disease itself, in most cases, I'm going to say, let me say specifically on the 4: high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, and thyroid, low thyroid in particular. Most of these can be dealt with by simply changing your lifestyle and or diet. So what causes high blood pressure? Well, typically it's stress. It can be stress internally. So if you've got something going on inside your body, like you've got gut issues, or maybe you've got a broken leg or a broken arm or whatever it is, that alone can just simply cause your blood pressure to go up because your body's trying to deal with this. It's fight or flight. Fight or flight is what causes your blood pressure to go up, and it's necessary that it goes up. So, this phrase I got from Dr. John Bergman years ago, but it makes sense. If you are being chased by a tiger, of course, not most of us don't live in places where there's tigers. If you're being chased by something that's going to eat you out here, it might be a mountain lion or a bear. You don't want your blood pressure to stay down here at a resting rate. You want it to go up here so you can flight, right? So you can get away or turn around and fight. That is why the blood pressure goes up. That is why when you go to your doctor for whatever it is you're seeing your doctor for, and you're kind of scared and you're nervous and they're going to check your blood pressure and you're worried, 9 times out of 10, at least, just a statistic I just made up on the spot, your blood pressure is going to be higher than normal because you're under some stress right there. And then you also got the thought that not everybody should have the same blood pressure. So what may be high for one person over here might be just perfect for you at just a common resting rate, or just a medium active rate. First and foremost, when it comes to blood pressure, you got to understand that. But also, it is possible that blood pressure can be chronically high. There's something going on that's causing the blood pressure to be constantly high. This could be also coming from external stress. Like a lot of the external stuff I was dealing with different family members, people I really, really care about and love, and it was causing a lot of stress on me. I didn't have my blood pressure checked because I haven't been to the doctor in years, but I could be pretty guaranteed it was probably higher than it should have been, and it was probably pretty chronic because I was stressed out all the time and my hair was falling out. That's your body reacting to stress. So you got to figure out first of all, what's causing this? How do I deal with it? And it could be more about changing what's going on in your life, changing what you're eating to help cure any other ailments within the body that could be causing the blood pressure to go up, that could be causing your thyroid to be low, or could be causing your cholesterol to be too high. That's another thing that people have to understand. For a while we were told all cholesterol was bad. Then we found out that we need cholesterol. Our brains are made up mostly of cholesterol. So if we're cutting out all cholesterol, that could be bad, right? That could cause brain damage. So then we were told, well, what is it? Is it the LDL that's supposed to be the evil one and the HDL that's the good one? That is also false. Okay. Your body needs both LDL and HDL cholesterol. It needs to be a proper balance. So again, it comes down to a proper diet. And if your cholesterol is chronically high and it's causing health issues, which is highly doubtful, then maybe it is going to mean you need some kind of diet change. It's not all about taking a magical herb that's going to cure it all. Now, there are certain herbs that most people can use for a lot of things. Plantain, for instance, this one comes up a lot because of the fact that most people can find it just about anywhere around the world. Remember how I was talking about we're watching Alone? Well, we just finished up season 3. They're down in Patagonia. Usnea and plantain were available. I wouldn't say it's a cure-all, but the nice thing about stuff like that is plantain, usnea, and the like, unless you have an allergy to these, which is, I would say, would be somewhat doubtful. But I don't want to say it can't happen. But you get something like a recluse spider bite, like the one lady did, and she was afraid she was going to have to tap out because she had 3 recluse spider bites on her hip. But she found usnea and plantain, and she made a poultice out of it and applied that a couple of times, a few times at least, and also made a tea out of the usnea because it's a natural antibiotic. And she was drinking that, and she was prepared to call out if she had to tap out, because, something like that can cause, she could feel it starting to attack her lymph glands. And so she was starting to get a little scared, but she started drinking that tea. The spider bites ended up clearing up and everything started getting better. The swelling in her glands started going down. But had they not done that, she would have tapped out. So there's a lot of things out there that can be good for most people to use in a lot of things. And it can seem like it's quite magical because of the way God made these things so incredibly healing. So yeah, things like that. But again, there's also the whole idea that everybody's going to be different. And I can't tell you, if someone comes in and says, what herb can I take for this? I really don't know, especially when you're talking internal issues, something you've been dealing with all your life. I can't tell you that. Because my guess is that it's not going to just be a one herb fix. It's going to be a whole change. It's going to be maybe adding some different beneficial herbs that can help lower chronically high cholesterol, chronically high blood pressure, that can help boost the thyroid and, get it working again on its own the way it's supposed to work. But I can't tell you which of those herbs are going to work best for you. I can give you suggestions. We'll hear some ideas. And this is why I have a video playlist, which I know I did link to down below, where I do profiles on herbs. And is there 100 videos in there yet? I know I've had to remove some, but there might be that many in there. Maybe at least 95. There's a lot of videos in there where I've profiled different herbs, not just herbs, but other things, and the benefits of these things, and how a little bit how they can be used. But then I also have a video playlist I didn't think to link to, where I compile herbs and more for various ailments. So, are you dealing with high cholesterol? Well, here's a list of herbs and so on that can help. Diabetes, here's a list of herbs and more that can help. I'm not going to make any promises that any of it's going to be a magical cure for any one person, but it's certainly worth looking into and finding out what's going to work best for you. Maybe start small and start working with some of these things. Always want to start small with something you're unfamiliar with, because you don't know if you are going to have a reaction to it. My mom what ifed herself into high blood pressure several years ago. She would make it even worse by checking it hourly. Oh, finally a doctor told her to stop checking it unless she felt bad and eat some salt. Excellent. See, here's the thing. The salt thing and the blood pressure. I know back in the 70s, at least, it was a big thing. Like, don't eat salt, don't salt your food. I mean, how boring. If you've got high blood pressure, because it's salt that's making your blood pressure go up. No, it's not. That was also all a lie. Or let's be gracious and say maybe it wasn't a lie, maybe it was simply a misunderstanding. The problem with a lot of the table salt that you buy, that plain white table salt, is that it's been stripped of all the minerals. And you need the minerals that are naturally found in salt that hasn't been stripped of everything good. It's just like milk. If you drink milk in the most natural form, whole, and maybe a little more straight from the cow, it's alive. It's got the things in there that can help your body better digest it. And especially milk that is high in the A2 protein. That used to be common. That's why people could, back, a couple hundred years ago, could feed their babies cow's milk and they wouldn't have a problem with it, because it was in its proper form then. The cows hadn't all been, bred a certain way, and now they only produce this kind of milk, which a lot of people can't handle. So you got a couple different things working against you. If you have dairy intolerance, it's probably the milk that you're getting. And the way it's been modernized and pasteurized and everything that was good in it has been taken out. And then, okay, now let's add this in and that in to make it better. Synthetic vitamin D and this. And okay, I'm not going to go all into that. Now, we don't get raw milk here much, just because there isn't any available close by. But I do go with organic, and I only ever get whole milk. Only. What a complete waste getting watered down milk. This had all that healthy fat that your body needs. There's a reason why the fat is in the milk. See, that's the other thing. I think another reason why people have these milk intolerance issues is from drinking 2% or 1% or non-fat. Let me say this, because I want to make this clear. Herbs can and do help heal the body from all kinds of different things. We just can't. It's just not a one size fits all, and we can't assume there's one herb out there that maybe it works for this person, it's going to work for us. Then the last thing that I have on that is do your own research. This is so incredibly important. People ask me these questions all the time. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a licensed naturopath. I'm not a licensed herbalist. I know there's no such thing as licensed herbalist in the United States, maybe nowhere, but I'm not certified. I don't have any of that. I've never taken a course. I'm just one who studies on her own and learns things as I need to, or do like I did, compile information to share with people. Like, here's a place to start if you're dealing with this, which a lot of those things I'm sharing have nothing to do with me. So I'm just doing it for the sake of other people, to give them a jumping off point. But no matter who's giving you the information and how educated they are, you're still an individual person who's going to have some unique needs. And so you've got to you got to be able to do your own research, know what you're allergic to, learn what your body needs the most. Make sure you understand, sometimes, even though I never go to the doctor, I always try to self-diagnose, which I know people say, I never do that. But I have books, I have ways of looking things up, and I know how to get to the root of a problem most of the time. If I absolutely had to, yes, I would go to the doctor if I really needed an answer and I felt like I wasn't getting it. But once you can figure out what is going on in your body at that point, and you know what you're allergic to, you know what you can handle, at that point, you can then start doing your own research and looking into, okay, I heard this herb, that herb is supposed to be good for this. Let me do a little more looking into it and see if this is safe for me to take, because maybe I'm still on this medication over here. Maybe I'm pregnant, or I'm nursing, or maybe I'm trying to give it to my child who's only, who's under the age of 5 or something, or maybe I'm giving it to my elderly parent and maybe they shouldn't have that particular thing at their age. So there's a lot of factors each person has to consider. So we can't just paint this broad brush and say, everybody can take this magical cure-all herb. What did I call it? The one herb to cure them all. Just doesn't work that way. So basically, I'm not going to say that was a nutshell, because I did kind of ramble like I tend to do, but that's the main thing I wanted to cover. I say it a lot, but a lot of times feel like it doesn't get heard enough. And so I try to get it out there in many different ways as possible, so people can understand that it's not that hard it can take practice, but it's not that hard to do some research.